You're listening to the Nature's Image Farm podcast. I'm your host, Greg Burns, and we're talking bees, homesteading, and the old-time ways. This episode is brought to you by Hive wax-dipped equipment. The days of painting bee boxes are over. Our unique wax-dip process expels water from the wood, replaces and impregnates it with our proprietary blend of microcrystalline wax, offering superior weather protection inside and out, without the mess or expense of paint. No paint, no rot, no hassle. Hive, built to endure. For more information, check them out at naturesimagefarm.com. Now, on to the show. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Stream Team Beekeeping Chat. We're glad you're here. Tonight, we've got Bruce's Bees from Dothan, Alabama. I'm Greg here at Nature's Image Farm from Ohio. Bruce, I'm proud of you, buddy. You did the thing.
I updated my computer, and that's what happened. So it let me do it. Let me turn it on.
You updated your computer?
Yes. Well, it just had an update on there, this whatever it's called, and so I updated it, and it did that. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
I have surprise update phobia. I'm afraid to update my computer because I every time I do it, stuff stops working. And there's all these little things. I'm kind of paranoid with that.
Yeah,
but,
I understand.
Well, tonight it's going to be a Bruce and Greg chat. Brian is off a special evening as his wife turns 30.
Plus.
Well, we'll just leave it at that. So Brian's got a very special dinner, birthday celebration today with his wife. So he's got the night off, and Bruce and I are going to get in and talk about some bee stuff, including some Monster Hive management. And it's been one heck of a monster year already, hasn't it, Bruce?
A very big monster year. Yes, it has. It's been awesome. Monster in multiple ways.
In so many different ways. So we want to thank everybody for joining us here tonight live on the Stream Team Beekeeping Chat, whether you're listening live, the replay on the Nature's Image Farm podcast, or on YouTube later. We want to thank you for spending some time with us. It's been an incredible season so far. And if you're just getting caught up with Stream Team goings, right now, Monster Hive is kind of the name of the game, not just here in Hopewell, Ohio, or at Bruce's place in Dothan, Alabama, but also up in the northeast part of Ohio at Castle Hive's headquarters. Monster Hives seems to be a trend, not so much in, hey, let's create Monster Hives, but what we're finding is ourselves smack dab in the middle of a season where you can almost stack them to the moon. And I think we're going to get in and talk about that as we go. As we get on tonight, if you've got some questions, we're going to do our best to make sure we run this thing as smooth as possible without our buddy Brian being here. If you have questions, let's leave those in all caps. Otherwise, the comments go past so quick that we won't even be able to keep up. So tonight we're talking Monster Year, Monster Hive, Monster Flow, but let's get into it. Bruce, give us an update. I know you've been busy. You've been having a really sweet year, it sounds like.
Sweet, you might say. That's no pun intended there.
See what I did there, Bruce?
I see what you did, but man, it's just been so much fun this year. I have, last year was pretty tough. Last couple of years have been a little tough. Last year I was a little discouraged at the end of the year. Just had a lot of loss, even into this winter. Just had a lot of problems and issues with my bees, and it wasn't a good flow last year. Didn't have enough honey to provide for my customers, but this year did a few things differently. First of all, once we kind of got through the rough, last fall and then winter, and things started looking up this year, I made some splits. Some things worked out well, and we've had I think about as good of a year from a honey perspective as you can have. Some people around here, said that maybe the tallow flow cut off a little bit early. I think certain little pockets, maybe it wasn't as good. I don't know if it was the best tallow flow I've ever had, but we made the most honey we've ever made, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit, I'm sure. But this past week, I just had we worked our tails off Friday and Saturday. First of all, last Wednesday, the Auburn Bee Lab came down. They came down, Albies, I think is what it's called. The Auburn Bee Lab came down. A couple of kids that are doing a study there. I think Rogan is one of the kids, and then Alex was there to help him. I think he's trying to get his PhD. I'm not sure I guess it'd be entomology, but I'm not sure. But he's doing a study, very interesting study. There's a video on my channel about that. If we get a chance tonight, we can talk a little bit about that. But he came down and did three beekeepers did some bees in this area. They were looking for beekeepers that had, either sideline or commercial status, I think, so they could do 10 samples in one bee yard. And it was super interesting watching those kids work. And he does a great job explaining what he did in that video and the principles behind the testing that they did. And I've got a follow-up interview with him on Friday morning. We're going to do that. And so I'll be getting the information out soon. I will say that because of that test, and you'll see in my video that's coming out in the next day or two, the first part of our harvesting video, I actually sped up my treatment of my bees. I was going to wait a week and do that this coming weekend, treat my bees for mites, but I went ahead and we dropped some treatments in them as we pulled the supers, and that'll all come clear if you watch my channel and see kind of the things that are going on there. But if we get a chance to talk about the study, maybe we can some tonight. But then we mentioned Monster. If you looked at the thumbnail for this video, Greg, that you put out, I had a Monster Hive too. I didn't anticipate it being as productive as it was. I no longer try to create monster hives like that, or great big huge towers, or mega hive, whatever you want to call them. But I try to give the bees the space they need. And if I see them packing honey in, I'll just stack more boxes on. In this particular colony, it was in my apame, one of my apames. We pulled 3 boxes off of it in the spring harvest. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. I don't know 100%, but I'm pretty sure we pulled 3 boxes off and harvested in May, Mother's Day weekend. And then we pulled 7 more boxes off last Friday. So a total of 10 boxes. Now the top 2 were not 100% capped. I think the honey was cured enough. We did the shake test with minimal, really, I think it was fine. And when you combine it with all the other honey we had, I think it was okay. But we pulled 7 more boxes off. And if you figure 30 pounds per box, which is probably a little bit more than that, actually, if you figure 30 pounds per box, that was about 300 pounds of honey that came off of that colony this year. And that was completely unintentional. I haven't had any colony that's even approached that since the Mega Hive back in 2015. So, and that's the only colony this year that was that productive. But for some reason, that one colony out of my 100 production colonies just went bonkers this year. And we had a lot of great help. We had Bracken Barker came from Barker's Bees and Honey, came down from Utah to help me, and that was a lot of fun. A couple of, I've got some new friends out in Utah. A couple of them have YouTube channels. We got Bracken Barker and then Glade Sessions. I'd love to have Glade come down too, but it's quite the commitment for someone to come all the way from Utah to help harvest. And Bracken's just the nicest guy in the world. He has some bees. If you check out his channel, he's got about 40 colonies runs there in Brigham City, Utah, in that area. And it's kind of up north of Salt Lake up there. And just a nice young man and just a hard worker. He's a lineman, works for the city up there. And then he also, he has a 100-acre farm that he manages and that he runs up there. So he's a busy guy, one of these kind of skinny, wiry guys that just goes and goes, and motor never stops. And the humidity kind of jumped on him a little bit. He's not used to that because it's more of a desert in Utah, but he just got after it, man. It was a lot of fun having him here. I hope I don't forget anybody. We had a lot of people helping. We had Richard Prager helped. He came down from Eufaula. Tim Burr helped us pull on Friday. He had helped us last year. Brian Lee and his son Andrew were not able to make it. Brian has been kind of dealing with some things, maybe health wise, and I think he's okay. He just couldn't make it. So Tim came, and then we also had Bracken, like I said, and Lynn Hughes from up in Ozark came down and helped for a while as well. What tremendous help that was. A lot of fun, man. We got the supers off. We used, I used B-escapes on some of them. We used bottom boards on some of them, or not bottom boards. We used fume boards on some of them, and just had a great time. And I still have 1 yard to pull. We didn't get the cell tower yard pull. We ended up with 200 supers, but I don't want to give the whole story away. And then on Saturday, we extracted honey, and we had a record extraction as well. And we also had a tremendous crew. Lisa, Grammy came, and of course Bracken was there. Richard was there again. Rusty was there. And Terry and Todd, some new beekeepers who were just getting started, were there. My wife and my daughter were there. And I hope I didn't forget anybody. That was pretty much our crew. And then Rusty's wife, Christy, helped out a little bit. And if I forgot anybody, please forgive me. I think that was our crew, though. Man, hard workers got it done, had a blast. And when we were done with that harvest, it was about 9:30, 10 o'clock Saturday night. Rusty, who's the guy I kind of do the honey with, it's his place there. We kind of combined our equipment and everything. We got a lot of new equipment this year to us. And he said, now that it's over, that was a lot of fun. And, we're exhausted, just dripping sweat, and just a crazy couple of days. But, man, it was a lot of fun. And once again, Greg, we tell people, it's so true. The bees are the conduit to the people, man. It really was about the crew that was there. We had such an incredible crew. I'm just trying to remember if I forgot anybody. I think I mentioned everybody, but that helped us out. But, it was so much fun and fellowship. And I can't believe how much I feel like I'm going to use up the labor capital with these people, but they keep coming back to help. So, like Richard Prager, I'm like, how many times is he going to let me torture him? But he, and Grammy too. I mean, she's been there the last 3 years. She's come and helped, Lisa. So it was great having her here. And man, he just definitely, or everybody, just all of them, it was a tremendous help. So I appreciate all that. And I'm not sure, I know we're going to talk about our monster colonies a little bit, but I've already talked about mine a little bit, but I did want to say too that I did try out the simple comb. I'm just going to show you. Here's one off of one of my hives here, and I'll be doing it. Clap it up for the bees. The bees did the work, and I think there's some things I can do a little better next year. We had a pretty good take. I'm going to leave the actual results to that. It wasn't 100%, and it could be better, I think. But we had some really nice. They call these packages. That came out of the bees there, and they did a great job. And man, it's just so good, that comb honey like that. So I've been working pretty closely with Madison and Mick from Simple Comb. Mick called me and trying to troubleshoot a little bit on some different things throughout this whole process. Just great people, great customer service. And another thing I have, Greg, I think you've got some of these too, is I've got a Hive Alive tool. What's that called? The Hive Alive Easy Find or something. I'm not sure what they're called, but these things, I haven't used this yet. It's brand new. They sent me 3 of them, but man, that thing, it looks like it might be a little thicker than the standard tool. I'm not sure if it is or not, but that thing is just, you'll be able to find that. You won't have to go looking too hard. I don't think if it's anywhere around the bee yard where you're at, you should be able to find that bright colored. Greg, do you think it's thicker than the standard tool, or is it about the same? It looks like it's a little thicker to me. That thing, I don't think it's going to bend. It's hard to tell here on the video, but it is. And it's tough. So I look forward to giving that thing a try too. I'm sure I'll be using the heck out of that thing as time goes on. Yeah, Jeremy on there says, I'm a professional at losing hive tools, and who's not? I mean, everybody, we've all lost a hive tool here or there. I actually do pretty good at keeping up with them, but I do a lot of looking around for them, but usually I can find them if I look around. Yeah, see? And I know Brian's got some. There are a few people that got these. I think it's a new product by Hive Alive, and it's pretty darn cool. So if you have problems losing hive tools, maybe that'll help. And I will say, once again, it's just thicker. I think it's thicker metal than the standard hive tool of this shape. I love this design, Greg. I'm not sure what name this type of hive tool has, but I actually prefer, between the hook and between the standard hive tool, I prefer the standard hive tool with just the bent section here. If I have to choose between that and the flat ones with the hook, I'll choose that every time. But I love having both features. It really makes it convenient for me, because I can it's the best of both worlds to me. So I'm I'm looking forward to giving this thing a try. Greg, how about yourself up there at Nature's Image Farm? I know you guys had a big event this past Saturday. Speaking of monster hives.
Speaking of monster hives, yeah, I see what you did there, Bruce. There, before we go into the monster hives, I'll just piggyback on you on your conversation about the new Hive Alive tools. They're if we stack these, let's see if we can.
Oh my gosh, that's a significant difference. I think
I'm not smart enough to get my camera to focus on that, but my all-time favorite Hive tool has been this one, and I haven't managed to lose it quite yet. Mm-hmm. But it just it's a little different because this is a what is that? It's almost an 11-inch. I think it's almost an 11-inch Hive tool. It's a little bit longer. So when you're you need that extra leverage, it works out really good. That has been my favorite. But when Hive Alive sent these new Hive tools, I in the past have not really been a big fan of these styles. I guess as you get more experience as a beekeeper, you kind of you build muscle memory and you build habits and you like certain things. And my Hive tool, it lives right here. On these two fingers, rarely does it ever leave my hand. So when I'm going to and fro and I'm doing stuff, you're pulling frame, you're doing that with these fingers, and this thing stays here. It's like it's locked in, and you learn to do that because if
it's hard for me with my left hand. I don't use my left hand though, so that's okay.
That would have been a good excuse that we would have that would have been. But Hive tools, Bruce, that if you don't have them right there and you lay it down, then that's. We should have a whole conversation just about efficiency. We talk about being intentional in the bee yard, but if we can be intentionally efficient, literally when you're spending 10 or 12 hours in a bee yard every single day, every movement of an elbow and a shoulder and a twist or 3 steps this way or 3 steps that way, that really adds up. And on some days makes all the difference if you're actually going to get through the colonies or not. So anyways, you build habits. And for me, if you've seen any of the videos of me working colonies, this thing it lives here. And when I'm walking around doing something else, it goes right into my back pocket, and everything has a certain fit, right? It's a part of you. So I wanted to give these a shot because, they're really heavy and they're really thick. And I like the color scheme because you really can't lose them. So I started giving that a shot, and I spent an entire day, not with this one, my other one, which is all, propolized and gunked up. And I actually really like a couple of the features of it. One thing specifically is it still lives right here in my hand. It can still live right here, and it can still go in my back pocket. And what I like about it is, it's not quite as long. I don't believe it's as long as my regular one. It feels like it's off just a little bit. Let's see if it is. Okay, it is. It's not much, but when you are really comfortable with a Hive tool, there's a little bit of a difference there. So what I noticed though, is you can create an enormous amount of leverage with this Hive tool. It hits you right in the pad of the hand, and you can really create some really intense leverage. These J hooks in the past have not been my favorite tool because they can create so much leverage. A lot of beginning beekeepers will go in with this hook and just dig right into the frame top and just start to pull a frame right out without breaking them loose first. And if you do that, you're only going to do that a few times before you realize you really got to go in and loosen those up just a hair. Otherwise, you can pull that top bar plumb off the sides, even if it's glued and stapled. And so the last thing you want to do is break a frame, especially a beautiful honey frame. And you don't want to be pulling frames out of a colony without spreading them first. So you're going to be rolling queens and rolling bees and just cheese grater RS. Nobody likes that. But anyways, I've really been enjoying getting to use this a little bit. There's been some times where that's actually been pretty handy. And so I'm actually finding this to be pretty comfortable. And so I like how thick it is too. So anyways, we're going to talk a lot more probably Hive tool etiquette and things here in the learning yard, and also some videos on maybe some tips and tricks on using something like this. So we just placed an order and are going to have these available on our website too. But I like the feel of it. It just, I don't know, Bruce, it has a nice, you're muted. Bruce, you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
I like, this is the exact style that I typically use. I've got one that Brian Lee made me that's just a lot like the one that you have been using, very similar. I just got my, he put my Bruce's bees on there, but I like these. It's really the same design as the one I like. I use yours that I got from you. It's this style, but it's a little bit, maybe I'm not sure if it's a little longer or not. And then I got one from John at Hillco. I've got both of those in my box. I also have one of the ones that I got at Hive at the Bee Expo. I can't remember what they're called. I can't remember what they're called, but it was really, it's like a, was it handcrafted? What was it? It was forged steel, forged steel. And it's really good. It's super strong for breaking apart boxes that have been glued together really well. Still not really used to how to kind of keep from, it's really sharp and how to utilize it the best way, but I'm learning. But I like this style because I like to take it and put the end down between the frames and I'll just take it and twist like this sideways and it cracks the box. I also do it sometimes like this and crack the boxes apart or the frames, but I like to do it this way. Once I crack it apart, then I stick that hook in there and just boom, and the frames come up. I really like, these have become my favorite just because they got both features. They've got the curved end to crack the boxes apart, and then they got the hook. And the reason I don't like the red standard hook style is because they fall down between the frames sometimes. You can lose them that way.
Right.
If you're not careful, if you set it up there and it just falls in there, falls to the bottom of the box. And I'm not coordinated enough. I'm pretty clumsy sometimes, but these won't do that. So, but man, this style I really like, and I do like this more heavy duty, and I'm gonna break one of these out and start using it here very soon and just see how I like it actually in the colonies. And I'll talk about it, I'm sure, in my videos. But
yeah.
Anyway, so we've definitely talked about this, and if you want to, I don't know, I think it'd be worth a shot to try and get one of those things. I'm glad I have one to try out here.
Yep, Jake's found some new uses for this too, and I think we're just going to put a video together and show kind of that. But anyways, yeah, neat product, brand new product out there. We'll have them on our website here probably this week. But it's been one doozy of a season so far. And Bruce, on the last stream team chat, we're talking about Monster Hive, and for us, we had a colony that was at the time was in 10 boxes, and we kind of described how we got into that situation. We actually did take video this past Saturday at the Learning Yard where we actually get into it, break the whole thing down, and then probably my favorite part of the video. Had some issues with mics not charging and all that, so we did our best with the audio. But one of my favorite parts, I think, of this video is just kind of the let's all put our heads together at the Learning Yard. It's not just about let's just learn how Greg does everything and just mimic and copy that. It's about learning together, trading ideas. Of course, we're happy to share all the hard lessons learned. But after we broke down the Learning Yard and seen what we seen there, the goal was, okay, let's meet up and let's talk about what do we think we just saw, and then as a group, as a collective, let's vote and chart a course moving forward. And so that was a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that video coming up. But what I can say is that the Monster Hive is alive and well, and what we did is it actually reconfigured. I've never seen something quite like this. And as we're seeing this monster stack unfold, you're collecting data and you're collecting information. And as the information is compiling and we're seeing what is going on here, we go from, oh, wow, so what? Are you kidding me? And then, oh my gosh. And then you're like, and how's that possible? And it was just one of those things where you just keep trying to sort it out, and it was interesting. The good here's the in short, we have eggs, and we have lots and lots of honey. Best estimate right now is 310 pounds, and that's just spring flow. We're just now getting into the white clover. This thing could potentially, whatever the record is, it could set it, especially in Ohio. If it continues on this path, we may be looking at something really impressive. What we did do is it took us quite a while to sort through that, and by the time we did that, of course, it was the 97-degree day. So we had them stacked up with lids and things like that. I had to get it going on kind of a donut break and a water break, and then I kind of put it all back together. And when I put it back together, I made sure to put the brood all together, gave them a little room to grow, kind of stacked the brood in the boxes just right. And then I did put an excluder on this time, and then ran all the supers up. And all I did was add one box. So there are bees in all the boxes now. And all I did was add just one wet super that we had just pulled, that we just had spun out maybe 4 or 5 days before that, and threw it on just over the excluder, and then just stacked everything else up. So when it is time to spin the honey, it should be fairly easy to get that broke down and off of there. I'm not sure I really want to. It's starting to look like almost like a fixture here in the learning yard, but we're at now 11 boxes. And let's see, as you can see let's see if I can, man, we need Brian to run all this stuff. Here we go. Let's see if I can pop this up. All right. So now when you're looking at, at this monstrosity, what we have starting from the bottom is we've got 3 10-frame deeps that are completely full of bees. We had one box in the original configuration that bees were working through but hadn't done a lot with. So we've actually restructured all the brood in this to where there's brood mostly in the center. But I checkerboarded some fresh frames in between some areas, and then put a blank frame or two on the outside just to make sure she continues to have room all the way up to the excluder. But there's 1, 2, 3 deep boxes, and then a medium box, and there's brood in all of those right now. All 4 of those have brood. We've now got a queen excluder above that. And then as you can see, as you go up the stack, that there's a medium 1, 2, 3, 4th box up that you can see the Nature's Image branding iron kind of on the right. And then you'll see an excluder, and then you'll see a really pretty like brownish root beer wax dip box. That first real dark box, that's actually a really old one. That one, or I mean, it's not really old. It's probably 5, 6 years or so. From there, that was the only empty box of comb of honey that I put on them. And in reality, I probably should have put more. But they've got one wet super on. And then going up from there is 1, 2, 3, 4 10-frame mediums that are full of honey, and nearly all capped and ready to pull off. And then the top 2 10-frame deep boxes are also honey. So let's do the math on that just real quick. Comment here on the side, how much does a deep frame of honey weigh, have you found on average? Bruce, what do you think? Somewhere between 7 and 8 pounds?
Yeah, probably. It just depends on how thick they are as well. I know that a deep box of honey can be anywhere 70, 80 plus pounds. So probably 7 to 8 pounds.
7 to 8 pounds. Let's just go middle.
Let's say 7 to go low, and then we'll get an estimate. But it's probably more actually.
They were fat. They were. A lot of them were just bursting. Yeah. Let's go middle ground. 7.5 times 10. That's 75 pounds per deep times 2. Okay, that puts us at 150 pounds of honey just in the top 2 deeps. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 10-frame boxes at a minimum. So at 3 pounds a frame, that's 30 pounds a box. 1, 2, 3. That's plus 120.
It's probably actually a little more than that, but that's
it's probably.
I think on my first harvest this year, we averaged 32 pounds per box. But just say
is that 30. What you had? And these ones are. These ones are bulging, like completely just onto each.
You're probably at 35 then. I would guess.
So maybe 35. Okay, so 35 times 10 times 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 35 times 4. Okay. So we're right at probably the 300 mark. Now there is full frames of honey also in the brood chamber. So if I were going through and pulling all the full frames of stuff, we're at 300 and some pounds. I personally have never had that. I've never seen that. And Ohio is not known for monster crops of honey. We have a very kind of a short window. And so it's not typically something that we see. And this is just the first part of the year. If there's a way that we can continue to manage the brood growth so there's enough bees to populate and manage all of that, it really could be something. But I'm not sure. I don't think that we can keep this honey on. And it might be a risk keeping the honey on that long. What I can tell you is that all of the boxes are in beautiful operating condition. There was at the very end, as we're all walking away, I'm just kind of dumbfounded, and I'm looking at this box, and I seen it, and I seen this little 1/2-inch hole through the front of one of the boxes, and it was at the very, very top of this tower to start with, and I said, that's it. It's an entrance. We've got 2 colonies in here. And so I ran and told everybody, hey, it looks like there might be a top entrance. I'll let you know when I shoot the rest of the video. Of course, when I go to shoot the video and to look, it is a 1/2 inch in diameter, but it's only about halfway through the box. So whatever the boring bees, as they went through, they eventually stopped and they didn't go all the way through the box. From the inside of the box, there's nothing there. So it's not a top entrance. Everything is square and short up. There is no top entrance. What I like about something like this is it totally defies all of this is how you're supposed to do things. This is a solid bottom board. There is no top ventilation. There is no top entrance. There's nothing. And somehow these jokers, Bruce, have packed in that much honey and have stayed put. It's unreal. And my main objective now is to try to get at least 200 to 300 grafts off of this. And what was kind of cool is I offered something special to all of the Learning Yard folks that made it for this kind of unveiling, unstacking. I offered them first dibs on any queens that we make from that. And so we're gonna take care of them first, and then what'll be fun is to get some of these genetics seeded out in different areas and see if we start to see it doing similar things, even just in Ohio, different parts of the state. So we'll see how she does. If we've got something here, and I have got more than a hunch that we do, I think we're really going to really incorporate this genetic offering and really double down and bring this heavily influence some of our stock. If you can have an emergency queen, which folks would argue is the poorest quality queen, that is just off to the side, that I'm not even sure if it got treated. I don't think anything that was on that landscape fabric at the edge of this bank behind the barn. I know I personally didn't treat any of those back there. And I don't know that Jake got around to even treating those two. If they would have gotten anything, it would have been maybe 1 or 2 rounds of oxalic acid. But what I'm really interested in doing is doing some washes and just see what kind of mite loads is this colony able to withstand and perform at this level. To not swarm, to me, is unbelievable. Bruce, you've heard the argument, to prevent the bees from swarming, just add a box. And you've heard, well, adding a box isn't enough. That won't stop them from swarming. Somehow we've got this something in between where they still haven't swarmed. There wasn't a single queen cell in there. Sometimes they'll leave those cells up even after they tear the sides out and you've got emergence. there'll be a trace evidence of that hanging around there for a little while. I mean, there's nothing, zero. So it's almost as though this colony has zero tendency for swarming and somehow packed all this honey in there. Here's what I noticed, Bruce, and you're more of an expert when it comes to honey, is all the cappings, or everything is wet cappings. Like every frame of honey, there's a couple that have that really fresh white thicker wax capping. But most of all of it is it was almost as though they barely had the field force to cover it, and it's a very thin wax capping where it creates that darker wet capping look. Bruce, any idea what wet cappings are from? Why they're there? Hey Bruce, hit that unmute, would you?
So I don't remember muting it, but anyway, I don't know what causes wet cappings. I have never researched that, but I do know that we always see some where we harvest. I don't know what causes it, but hey, I mean, it's just very interesting, your experiment here. I got a couple of questions for you though, Greg, about this thing.
Yeah.
First of all, you put the deeps on the very top. How fun was that getting those up to the top there? Of course, you're a big, strong man, but man, you had to climb a ladder, I'm sure, right, to get them up there? Wait till
you see the video. I actually had to take a box. Luckily, it was a Pura Hive box where it had the strong dovetail joints, and it's a tough box. I actually set that on the ground and then put one of our migratory lids on top of that and used that as a step stool. But that thing weighs, golly, it felt,
it's got to be,
it felt like 2 feed stacks is what it felt like. It felt like it was close to 100 pounds.
It could be, yeah.
And it was, I don't know if, let's see if I've got, let me see. Well, it doesn't really matter. You guys can imagine I'm 6'2". Let me see if I can get a picture of me standing next to it.
So why didn't you put the bigger boxes on the bottom so you didn't have to pick them up as high?
Because the bigger boxes are going to be the first ones that I'm going to pull off, and the bottom ones are still finishing up. So my goal is to, what I'd probably do is put a bee escape somewhere. I'd probably split the difference into two, and I'll figure out a combination of fume boards and bee escapes to pull that off, and then go spin it.
Speaking of bee escapes, I tried those last week. We had a young man that passed away in this area in a farming accident a couple of weeks ago, and we had his funeral last Wednesday. So I took last Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off from work. I was going to take Thursday off anyway, and so I actually went and I put some bee escape boards in some of my colonies, and we had some that I probably have 4 to 5 mediums above the bee escapes, and they were quite clean just in 2 days, about a day and a half to 2 days. And so, people say they're concerned they won't get out of there, but no, there were a few bees in there. And as you went down further, there were maybe a few more, but man, it, in large part, it cleaned those supers out pretty nicely. So I would imagine you can at least go down, 2 to 3 boxes from the top, maybe even the 4, and it would be an experiment for you, right? Even if they don't all go out of there, you can throw a fume board on top of whatever they're not out of, or you can tip it up and blow them out, which is what we did with just a few bee stragglers that were left. But that was kind of part of my honey harvest this past weekend, was an experiment to kind of, first of all, to see what the difference was using both systems in the same harvest. Second of all, to kind of get the opinion of the guys helping me. And so I kind of, in my videos coming out, we kind of address all that a little bit, and I think it'll be a fun video, but it was anyway, that was our experience this past week here, and some of those colonies were absolutely packed with bees, and the bees vacated the supers quite nicely. But I typically can't do that because I'm normally not off 2 days before we harvest, and plus it's an extra trip to the bee yard. So I think fume boards is the way to go if you got a lot to do, unless unless you have a good crew that can help you. It's easier, I think, with the bee escapes, especially if you're doing it by yourself, because you can just pull the boxes off and go. You don't have to wait for all of them with the fume boards, but then it's just faster if you've got a good crew and a bunch of fume boards. You can get through it really fast. You don't have to make 2 trips to the bee yard the other way. So pluses and minuses to both. I
like that. Yeah. In worst case scenario, if the bee escape doesn't get it out, a fume board will finish it up, and I'll probably use a combination of both. We'll probably try to figure a way to put 1 or 2 bee escapes in there to at least get the top cleared. And then if we have to go in, we can always throw a fume board on and, go a deep at a time and then pull that off, have somebody running into the shop to spin out, and then just keep working our way down through there. And then we got to figure out what in the world do we do with all these bees, because those bees
really
are going to be out.
We've got some good questions. Hey, if you think about it, guys, you could put them in all caps so Greg can capture those. But there's a good question there by Carmine.
Let me see if I can. I'm struggling here to get my.
I know. I wish I could click and star them while we're going here.
My screen is so wide this way. All the comments are clear over here. I got to be clear over here to see them.
Well, let me read it to you. It says, how much weight can the bottom deep boxes handle with all those full boxes on top?
I don't know. We're going to find out.
I think they can handle, since
thousands of pounds.
Probably handle. Yeah, they'll probably be fine. If it was
the main
on
thing
side,
is leveling. If this was not level, you're going to have your pounds per square inch is going to be concentrated into possibly a corner. Now these here, what I did do is I actually I was taking video, and by this time it was, I don't think I finally got everything put back together until like probably close to about 5 o'clock in the evening. And here in Ohio right now, you really need to be out of your boxes by about 3 to 4 at the latest, very, very latest right now, because that seems the clover to dry up after lunch, mid-afternoon. When the clover dries up, the robbing just starts. And I had all these boxes kind of stacked into two stacks towards the barn side here, and I was stacking up the brood in one stack and then the food in the other as I was going through and then kind of reorganizing. And so, yeah, we were getting some robbing kind of going on. But as far as how many pounds, what I did do, or what I was trying to say is, and you have to forgive me tonight, guys, because my brain, I'm absolutely fried. It's like it's a 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. 4-week stretch right now, and so I'm kind of fumbling and mumbling my way through the chat tonight. But I was trying to take video of exactly. I got this short up some because right now, like, it's hard to see from this photo, but what you're looking at is a bank. We have a bank barn, and we're at the lower story of the hayloft drive-through. So where you would drive through and store the hay in the mow and come out the back side of the barn, there's a little place where you can drive the tractor around and back up the bank. It goes up into the learning yard area. But when you look down, it drops off from where this colony is to the like the bottom of that, what looks like field out in front of there. That's probably conservatively probably 40 feet drop, 30 feet drop to that back corner. It's just a beautiful rolling hill landscape here, but there is no flat ground. And so originally it was just a story and a half colony. And as it was building up, I just had there's a 2x4, which is 1.5 inches thick, under the front side of the colony just to kind of get it somewhat level. Well, what I noticed is that with that 10 frame colony, as I'm like cruising around and I see this thing, no matter which way I look at it, it looks bad. Like, it's like, whoa, it's really leaning. I probably should do something about that when we unstack it. So we did. Right now, it has 3 inches of chalking under the front of the landing board to get this thing level. So we're talking about 3 inches over 22-inch landing board, 22-inch bottom board. That's significant. So for all you roofers and construction math types, we've got 3 inches of fall over 22 inches. That's pretty intense. Pretty good slope there. Anyways, got it leveled up and then started stacking it up because I knew the weight was just going to start getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And so right now, all that weight's distributed really to the bottom deep box and that bottom board. And so the 3/4 inch pine, the compressive strength could handle that no problem at all. But if you were leaning bad or all that weight was onto a corner that's stapled, you could get into just some trouble there. But we are plumb and we're level, and we are strapped. It took 2 straps now because it's getting so tall. But anyways, yeah, that's kind of where we're at with. I was going somewhere with that conversation, Bruce, but I don't remember what it was about.
Yeah,
so
I'm at the same place.
So anyways, so it's a lot of fun. So my number one objective, I hope to get to it this week, is see that was we put this back Saturday, so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, today's Wednesday. I'll probably wait till Friday. We're on a regular grafting schedule, but what I'd really like to do is set up 3 or 4 starters that can take 45 cells or so at a time, and just do a dedicated graft just from this. So that means unstacking everything, and then
that's going to be fun.
It's getting to be a thing.
It's pretty cool, man. That's just awesome. Anyway, that's really cool. I'm excited for you. I had the hive this year that was unintentionally kind of a monster hive, but it wasn't an experiment like this. I didn't even, I haven't really. We just pulled the honey off, kept it in a double deep, I think it is, with the boxes stacked on top of it. It was an apame though, but you looked out of that bee yard before we harvested, and there's all these boxes, these hives that are, got 3, 4, or 5 honey supers on them, and this one's just stacked up. It towers over all the rest of them, and it was a lot of fun. But anyway, that's fun stuff. And I don't know, I guess folks can throw in the comments if you guys have hives look like this. You could share them on the Stream Team Facebook group if you want. Just throw some pictures up there in the next couple of days, and kind of let's take a look. It'll be kind of fun to do that. Be kind of fun to interact.
Last thing I want to say about the Monster Hive is, we got some video footage coming out, and we're going to continue to manage it now. And we may find it may not be productive at all once we manage it, but when you ignore it and put it off to the side and just throw boxes at it, it just does its thing. But high wind and things like that are definitely a concern. We've had some hellacious winds come through ever since. I mean, like severe. We've had some really strong winds. We've actually had tornadoes in the area come through just maybe 10 miles away. So this thing's standing like a lighthouse amongst the others.
Hey, you need to put a light up on top of it and just let that thing rotate around and get some video of that. That would be cool.
That would be
just like a light rotating around.
You need to find an Amazon link of some whatever that would be called. That would be cool, wouldn't it?
Just to get some video of that for your videos at the beginning or end. Be the lighthouse. Karen Eaton has a really interesting comment here, and I don't understand much about dry and wet capping. She says Italian honeybees, Apis mellifera, are known for producing white dry caps. At the other end of the spectrum, Caucasian bees produce wet caps almost exclusively. Yeah. So I know you have heavy Caucasian influence in your bees, so that makes a lot of sense if that's true.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting to see. We've got a mix, and that could be why we've got a mixture of that in there. But time will tell. So we're trying to figure out what do we do? Do we go ahead and just the next learning yard is going to be honey harvest learning yard, and we're going to show folks how to go through and use fume boards and escape boards and things like that. And we'll probably go ahead and just pull the honey off of this thing and capture that asset while we can. But I hate to break it down, but anyways, we're trying to figure out what to do next. So,
you could break it down, just throw them back on there and see what they do with it too. You could do that. They may or may not fill it up again or fill at least part of it up, but it'd be a great experiment to see what happens.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions, Greg? I know I've seen some questions roll through, but I'm not sure. We can't. It's hard for us to star. Brian stars everything. We're having a hard time. I can't star.
I can't walk and chew bubble gum. From Sheila Berger, how many supers do you have? Bruce, I know we've both been talking about it. You were talking about your Monster Hive. How many supers have you had on the Apame?
Mine had 7 this time that we pulled, and we had pulled 3 of those before and restacked them on there. So a total of 10 that we pulled from that thing this year.
Okay. Well,
I think that was pushing around 300 pounds probably. Now, the top 2 boxes this last time were not thickly capped honey. I mean, they had some nectar in there, and it was pretty well cured. I mean, we did the shake test on nothing hardly shook out, but so, a couple of them probably didn't hit that 30-pound mark. But the rest of them were just beautifully capped honey, I think, for the most part. And so I think we probably, let's just say 280 to 300 pounds would be my guess on that colony that we got this year. Total 10 boxes we pulled.
What's your average? What's your average pull, do you think?
Per box, or what do you mean? Per box. I think per colony, man, I don't even know. This year, we probably averaged about 100 per colony this year. And we still haven't finished. We've got another BR to do, but I would say 90 to 100 a colony. And I didn't take a total number of colonies and divide it out yet. I haven't done that, but I bet we have a pretty close to average of that for the production colonies. We had a really good year. Some had 4 or 5 supers that we pulled. Some had just one. So it's hard to know. I should have counted better to see, but I don't know. I'm not sure. It's already well above the Alabama average. Alabama average, I think historically is about 50 or 60 pounds. And I'm sure we're well above that.
What's the average?
I think 55 to 60 pounds probably here in Alabama average.
So
per year historically.
You're 5 times greater than that this year. And it sounds like you're 3 times greater in your monster hive than your standard production hives. And you've mentioned that you're not really trying to manage this monster hive as a monster hive, but it somehow is just eating all the boxes you throw at it.
I just over the years, I've kind of learned how to gauge what I think they're going to do. And I just add spaces they needed. I don't start off the year thinking I'm going to have 4 supers on every box for honey. I just kind of start off putting a box or 2 on there. And then some colonies really grow up and explode into it. And if I go in there in a few weeks and it's capped honey in the top box, I'll throw 2 more boxes on there. You know what I mean? I usually start off, a lot of times I'll start off with a box of foundation and then a box of comb if I want to draw out some foundation, and then just let them roll with it. Sometimes they'll fill that comb out and cap it and they won't even touch the foundation. But sometimes you go in there and they've just, like this year, I don't know how many boxes of comb or foundation I drew out. You can't hardly tell which ones were which. They just drew them out so well, I guess, because we had such a great flow. But once they kind of fill that up, then I just start adding boxes. And when I went through that Apame, I must have just felt like, hey, this colony's going to do well. And I also had the other 2 Apames out there with that equipment weren't doing as well. They were kind of struggling some. So I think I may have moved some of the boxes from there up there just to kind of see what would happen. I don't think I started off with the intention on having 7 supers on top of, double deep, but it just turned out that way and it worked out well.
Would you say there's a certain vibe that you get when you're going through a colony and let's say you've already had the honey excluded, you got an excluder in, and you're feeling a surge in the brood nest, and you're feeling that there is so much population up in the super that you're feeling like, man, I can probably add a super, but if I just add a super and we don't address the brood nest, then we're going to potentially have a swarm, and then we're not going to fin it or go any further. So either I pull the super off, put it back and see if they'll finish that out, or do I add a super, roll the dice on whether or not the colony is going to put on swarm cells or not, or do I give them a little space in the brood nest and give them space in the supers and see what they do? Is that going to be too much room, or is it just right? And there are some colonies that are getting heavily brooded. Like when you get in there and you're seeing, oh my gosh, I've got 7 or 8 frames of nurse bee or of cat brood getting ready to emerge, and the boxes are just jammed. I tend to go, let's just throw a deep on the brood box, put the excluder back, and then under super with another super underneath. In worst case scenario, I'll just come back and pull the finished super off the top, and these rascals can just cruise a little while longer, and they're ready for winter. I'm always in this, okay, well, worst case, if they don't utilize it, they're ready for winter, but they keep utilizing it. I keep throwing more boxes at them. But one thing I was just thinking, this flow I've never seen a flow like this. But you know what? Also, I've never seen quite like this, Bruce, this year, is the lack of hive beetles. Like today I went through and pulled a bunch. Knock on wood. We went and pulled a bunch of queens. We've made in the last probably 4 or 5 days, probably made 100 splits. We've been through a bunch of colonies. And I've probably have smushed maybe 10 or 15 hive beetles. I'm not seeing them this year. I'm just not seeing the hive beetles like we have in the past. Last year, we didn't see a whole lot either. But a reason I say all that is, imagine, bees. We've been on top of their health. They went into the winter with probably in their healthiest mite picture ever. We were on top with their nutrition and supplements. They came out of the spring. We had an early spring. We had pollen patties on. Everybody was just kind of ready at the light, idled up, engine warm until it was all go. And then boom, they went. And then when they don't have stressors like hive beetles, and when we don't have stressors like intense drought, it's like when all the things line up, I think what we're seeing with a year like this, what's neat about it, it's a double-edged sword. We know we're probably not going to get a year like this again, but it gives us a really good metric for what the bees can do under all the ideal conditions. And that's a really big thing, because now we've got a bar that's really, really high. The bar is raised all the way up, but we know if we keep our bees clean of disease, if we have all the proper nutrition, if spring comes and stays there and they've got a flow coming on, here's what they can do in a calendar year. To me, that's pretty exciting. It's disappointing to think we might not see that again for another 10 years. But to me, it's like a high performance anything. To see this high performance critter performing at the highest potential that we've ever seen is pretty exciting. And it lets us know what their abilities are.
Yeah, I love that too. One thing that Flower Street says there, Brian says, is sometimes you juggle honey supers in the yard to maximize the best colonies. And that's one thing I do as I'm going through is when I'm in the middle of the honey flow, if some are not putting any in there, I'll just move that to one that's strong. You'll start popping lids and some will be capped all the way up to the lid and some just are not filling the top box up. So I'll move that box over. But I totally agree with you as far as the potential. It's just really cool to see. We've had a very productive year here as well. It's been a fun year, and to kind of see what these bees can do. You also realize that if you have hives that are not performing, bye-bye. I'm okay with them going because I know what these hives sitting, on the pallet right next to them are doing. And so if they don't make it, I don't worry too much about it. Of course, I could requeen and all that kind of stuff, but it's just kind of let them go. It's okay if they don't make it. We'll just focus on the stronger colonies and roll from there. And I've just learned so many just valuable lessons this year about myself, about the bees. It's just been a really fun year after a very difficult year last year. Last year was not a fun year for me at all. I mean, it was fun in some ways, but gosh, it was just a struggle last year. It seemed like, and this year's it's been much better.
You kind of need the wind put back in our sails every now and again. Not that we're going to quit, but you can get wore out and you can get tired and you can get just all those things. And I know there are, Bruce, I'll share this and I'll ask you the same question, and then we'll take a few questions, and then we'll jump off tonight. But we've been in, and I don't want to get into the details with this, and I don't want to be, teasing about something that we're never going to conclude on either. But we've really been. We have spent a lot of money and a lot of time and have devoted a lot of resources to trialing a very specific hygienic line of bees. And I've been open with this in the past that I've been disappointed with what the results of that were, and I continue to be brokenhearted and nearly disgusted with some of the outcome. That being said, most of that effort is completely buried and behind us. But right when you feel like you're in your pit of despair, I guess, after you or I'm trying to be careful on what I say here. When you're feeling absolutely defeated. Sometimes God needs us to be in that place and then shows us a little glimpse and gives us a little silver lining. And I want to share this little photo here, Bruce. after all of the pain and aggravation and defeat, and the just everything that we went through to try to get all of the certain thing mixed together, out of all of that, we are literally down to two queen mothers. And this here is my silver lining queen. And so I've got her marked silver. But she is one of two of the F1 hybrids of the hygienic line that we mated with our Caucasian carnies that really could really be something. Everything else is done. Everything else that was so extremely angry and defensive, we went through and humbled them to all ends of the earth, split them out every which way but Saturday, dropped queen cells and everything. And those queens are going to be no more. The only thing left is one paternal mother and a few of these F1s. So even though you feel like you've lost and you feel like you're done and you're ready to move on, and that's okay. Sometimes you'll have this one little thing that'll be the silver lining. And this colony here is so calm, and they seem to be doing really good. And we're actually seeing some uncapping, recapping traits with this line, and they're calm. So I've got hope that one of these two queens will continue to produce hygienic bees that are actually workable. So for me, Bruce, we have a monster year in every stretch of the imagination, but it's neat that we get we're blessed with a little silver lining for us to kind of hang on to and move forward. Bruce, as you're working through your monster year, have you had a little silver lining reminder that has popped up that helps keep you moving forward in the really tough times of the grind?
I just, man, it's hard to, I would just say just a success. One thing I did, I was able to graft successfully, and I have some really nice queens out of that. I'm trying some different lines as well. I've got that we'll get them in some videos in the future. But I think just the overall success this year, I basically, I got Tyler Walker. He's a commercial guy down in the Black. He's kind of southwest of us a little bit down there. And he's kind of been a mentor to me, as well as Davis. I mention them sometimes in my videos, but Tyler just gave me some guidelines as far as how to manage the bees through the late winter, how to split and how to manage. And so I've kind of followed a lot of his principles, especially down there in that Appleton Farm area down south of town down here, with tremendous success. I had really good success with those Hawaiian queens from Zach. They've done well. Now they do have to be treated. They're not the hygienic bees, but they've had to be treated, but they've done well. And that's been a fun project to see how they've done. And then I do have, it's just, I like you said, I had a lot of negative experience up in Ozark last year, just losing colonies. Man, I just got devastated up there. But the colonies that are left absolutely went crazy production wise. And I think we ended up with, I don't even know, out of 5 colonies, what did we average? I can't remember what it is. You can see in my harvesting video, maybe I mentioned it in there, how much we got. But the ones that survived seem really tough, and they're producing, they're doing well. 3 of them are still a little spicy. The other 2 are pretty nice. And then I've got one up there that I thought was a dead out, and now they're in double deeps. They just kind of requeened, I guess, and they're turning it around, and they seem to be pretty reasonable attitude wise. But man, I just gotta say, like, this past weekend, it was just so much fun. Like, we worked hard, but it was just, I really just love it. Everything about it. I love the work aspect of it. I love the bees, and I love the people. We had such a fun crew, and it was worth all the heartache, all the stress, all the issues that I've had over the last couple of years to be able just to see the benefit, the fruits of our success, and to be able to get out there and work hard with like-minded people, just good people that were willing to come and help out. And we just had a great time, both on Friday pulling the honey and Saturday in the honey house. And once again, we'll have videos coming. I'm trying to get them edited. Took a lot of footage, so it's going to take me a while, but the first one should be coming out hopefully in the next couple of days. And the Hell Hives, you're pretty close there in your comment. I'm not going to tell you exactly, but you're pretty close. So it was a record. I'll say this. It was a record. I've had a record harvest already this year, more than ever before, and I still have one more this cell tower yard to pull. We'll probably get 40 or 50 boxes out there, I'm hoping. And so it's been wonderful. Greg, I'm not sure if that answered your question. I don't really know if there's been one thing in particular.
The people in your case for the silver lining, when you're digging in and do it, you have a mountain of work to produce literal tons of honey. The people, I think, are like what you mentioned.
And then Jeremy helped me with the first harvest, and then the other folks that helped in the honey production. The honey, we combined with Rusty and his family, and just the folks that came and helped us that first. Felicia, just some different people that helped with that first crew back on Mother's Day weekend, and then I just loved it. It was so much fun, and we worked. Now I'm telling you, we worked. It was hot. It was humid. And by most people's standards, it would have been miserable. But I think we all just really, hopefully you'll be able to tell in the video that's going to drop for the one that's going to drop first is the pulling honey video. I hope you can just sense the camaraderie, the fellowship that was there. And then it was the same way on Saturday. It was a different crew, some of the same people, but some other people too, including Lisa, who's talking in the comments here. And just that, man. There's nothing like just getting out and working hard and sweating with good people and just getting a job done is very satisfying. And Greg, we were talking earlier. Most people on here have probably experienced this before, where when you have a large task, and it's with me, it's the bees. Every year we have this big honey harvest. I really stress about it because I'm asking people to come and do this. I just pretty much for free. They get a bottle of honey and a lunch, maybe, or just a lunch or whatever. I kind of each person's a little bit different, but I just I'm like, how long am I going to be able to utilize this YouTube capital? Like Lisa's come for 3 years. Richard was there 2 years ago. He was there. He was there again this year. Tim came and just saved me last 2 years, actually. We've had several people, of course, that have been there and helped out. And then we have some people that come once or twice. And just how long can I utilize this YouTube capital or this community capital that I have? But I think people, as crazy as it sounds, they enjoy the torture. They enjoy coming and working together and sweating and seeing what it's all about. And it's just like you're tired, you're exhausted. And I'm tired and I'm exhausted today, but man, it's so cool. We got done with the honey harvest on Saturday evening, and most of the buckets were still stacked down at Rusty's place. The honey supers were down there on 2 trailers. And so Monday evening, I went and picked up a trailer of honey supers and a truckload of buckets in my back of my truck. I did that 2 days in a row, and I didn't feel like it was complete until I did that. And today, I'm just absolutely, I've hit that letdown phase where I'm just like, oh, I'm so tired. And this weekend, I got to figure out how to stack all those supers, or most of them. And then I got to help Rusty with his harvest. But yeah, at least now I'm kind of catching my breath just a little bit and going to ramp it up and go some more. But I love it, man. Everything about it, I love it. Even the hard work. The thing I don't love about it is the dead outs, especially the slime outs, and then the stacking of the supers. I just don't enjoy that at all. But beyond that, it's just so much fun. It's so cool.
Well, folks, make sure to check out Bruce's video when he gets that published. That's going to be a lot of fun. That's a big deal when you see, Bruce sent me some photos. When you see that, that kind of supers stacking off and going down the road on a trailer. I mean, I just look at that and I said, man, that's a pile of work right there. But there's something about, working together with folks during some tough times, maybe a little adversity and a big challenge. It builds an amazing camaraderie, and I think there's just no other way to do that. You build a tight relationship. You all have that sense of accomplishment together, and it's one of those things where you can't accomplish that without everyone pitching in and doing it. There's Bruce, you would have found a way to made all that happen, but can you imagine pulling 200 or 300 supers just one man?
I couldn't have done it. Let me mention too. I've got to give a quick shout out to Hilco. We got those 2 32 frame Megamax extractors, and it was Saturday afternoon. When one of them, we just couldn't figure out how to get it I mean, it worked, but it was on a program. We couldn't figure out how to get it adjusted like we wanted. And about lunchtime, it kind of just wouldn't ramp up. It quit ramping up on us. And so we were like, oh man, we still had the one extractor going, just working perfectly. The other one, we couldn't figure it out. And so I called John Hill. It was like probably 2:00 in the afternoon, 1 or 2 o'clock after we ate lunch. And he said, oh man, he's like, he answered first of all, which was awesome on a Saturday afternoon. And then his father or father-in-law, I think, is the one that kind of is specializes in the actual motors and how they all work and all the settings and everything. And he got on the phone with Richard and they got that thing figured out. It just needed to kind of be recalibrated. And then it worked perfectly the rest of the afternoon. So we just were having a hard time figuring out how to get it to recalibrate. It wasn't anybody's fault. We just didn't, we were not familiar with the machines, but once it got working, those things are monsters. They did a great job. But I just got to give a shout out to their customer service, because a lot of companies you couldn't call on a Saturday afternoon and have them immediately call you, take care of it and help you out with getting up. But we had to have both extractors as much as we had. It was about 9:30, 10 o'clock when we finished. It would have been later if we wouldn't have had both extractors going there almost all day. So shout out to Hilco again on that quality product and great customer service.
Now I'll just piggyback on that, Bruce. Too is we've got a 30 or 35 gallon bottling tank from Hilco, and the element went out and got a hold of the box went out, got a hold of John, and same day he had the replacement in the mail, and we had it in just a couple days. Had it back in the thing right before we were trying to bottle and get a bunch of this honey out of there. So. Bruce, I'm so proud. I wish Brian was to see now.
We don't need to tell him. We can't tell him. Don't tell him.
Brian, you're just gonna, wow, man. But yeah, shout out to John Hill. He's always taking care of us, and it's nice to see that. When stuff breaks, like I don't get uptight about it, because when you spend time on a farm, if you use something, it's going to break. Like you don't want stuff to break. I don't want the $60,000 skid steer to all of a sudden be, breaking cylinders and tracks falling off. I'm not saying that, but that when you put something to work, there's a chance that it will break. And when the thing breaks because you're using it, to have customer service that's going to take care of you and take care of the part, that's a big deal. I'm going to go out on a limb to say that I'm going to avoid. Never mind. I'm not going there. Next,
should we try and hit a couple of questions here, Greg?
Let's jump. Yeah,
we did a couple people that did put some stuff in all caps down here.
Yeah, we'll get through. I've got several of those starred. Tennessee Tim says, "Be sure to wish Luke and Lily happy birthday today. The twins are 9 years old today, Bruce. Awesome. I can't even imagine. It seems like it was yesterday. They were birthed here at home on the homestead, and I just cannot believe it's been 9 years ago. So happy birthday, Luke and Lily. And I'm pretty sure they don't spend their free time watching Dad's bee chats. But I want to give a shout out to Connor, Brown and Daughters Honey. Thank you so much, Connor. He gifted 10 Nature's Image Farm memberships. So really appreciate that. Thanks a lot. For doing that. Got to thank our pal Bruce here. # Monster Team. Now we're the Monster Team. Boy, it is time for bed.
Monster Hive.
Whew. Thanks, Bruce. Really appreciate you. Phil Weaver asks, Greg, what is Monster Forage on? Monster Forage this year was on everything, and it came in. We talked about it a little bit, but in brief, the season started off with a tremendous maple pollen that just escalated from there. But really kicked things in was when the autumn olive flow came on. The bees just started building fast, and so between the autumn olive, a ton of blackberry, a tremendous black locust crop, those were the really big ones that really just laid it to them, and they did really well. Of course, we had some tulip poplar that just came in recently too. That's over with. That was full force. And then now we're into the white clover. We really have only had about probably 7 non-forage days that I can think of since probably mid to late March, which means, I mean, Bruce, I just went through a skid of deep frames like that. They just, by the time you throw them out there, they disappear, and you're thinking, wow, I know how much money that was, but it's gone, and they needed to go somewhere. And now, it's like, it's a great problem to have. This is the year where you dig in, you make those splits because you've got the food. Luckily, we've got the equipment. We've got enough extra 4-way pallets. We're just splitting them. And there's a question coming up, and we'll talk about that too. David Lewis, Family Homestead, thank you for your super chat. Bruce, this is a question I was going to allude to. Amber asks, Bruce, do you requeen every year? If so, what time of year do you prefer to requeen?
I don't officially requeen every year. I just can't. I can't make myself kill perfect queens. But I've tried doing some of the late season stuff, and when I say late season, I mean July, August type timing. And I have not had great success with it right then. It's almost the worst time you can do it. I've had some success like in late August and in September, maybe even as late as October with mated queens. Some years good, some years bad. My favorite time to requeen is as early as possible in the year. Down here, honestly, February, March, if you can get mated queens, you can split and requeen. And this year I did a lot of that. And the truth is that once I stack honey supers on, I don't really go in the hives much. And I found that over the years, some of them will actually back off a little bit in population. Then they come back with a vengeance. And I think a lot of those colonies, I'm not sure if they swarm or if they just requeen, supersede. But I end up with a pretty high percentage of quality queens every year. And I think a lot of them just requeen themselves and I never know it. I don't go in my hives all the time. Once I stack honey supers on, I'm stacked with 3 or 4 honey supers. I don't want to be digging down in the deep boxes. I don't think it's necessarily good to just break into the bees if you're trying to make a honey crop constantly like that. And so, I'll pull splits out here or there if I decide to do that, if I decide to get some more queens. But my favorite time to split is in the spring, as early as possible on into about May and even maybe early June. But May is about as late, I think, for ideal queen introduction here. That's what I like to do. Now, I know some people do it, but it's so important, Greg. I think you'll agree to have the right elements in place. You got to have food coming in. That's so key to have that food resources available, I think, when you introduce new queens, even if they're mated queens, because I think the bees are more likely to accept them and they can get off on a good start. And last year, one thing I did that was wrong was when I broke out those 30 splits in late July, I didn't have food on them. And it was up there in that Ozark yard where everything was crazy. And a lot of the queens emerged fine. They started laying, but they just kind of fizzled out. And I think a lot of it just had to do with the fact that
nutrition.
I did feed, like when I did some splits later, I got up there a week or two later and started feeding them pretty well. I just tried, but I bit off more than I could chew with that whole thing. And that's what I did. If I'd have done like 5 or 10 queens, it would have been different, but I tried to do 30 splits and it was just too much to do. And so I learned a lot of lessons, but that's in answer to your question. I don't requeen them all every year. I do prefer to do queen type stuff and splits in the spring, and in the spring, basically as early as possible through about mid to late May. And then I'll play around with a few queens, maybe in the late summer, early fall, but they got to be mated then. I'm not going to be trying to make queens then.
I think it's a good move to get fresh queens in there. It's not to say that if you've got 20 colonies or less, that a 3-year-old queen is a liability for you. But, we've got I found some yellow and some white dot queens digging through stuff here recently. And I'm just thinking, how did you get past me? I don't even know how that happened. But I think one of our plans here is whatever's left here in the home yard, we're going to go through, dig those queen mothers out, and then just make a 5 to 7 frame split, throw them into a 10 frame single, put a frame feeder in for now, a couple frames of foundation, and then just move those to other out yards where we're not going to have to babysit them. Come back in 10 days or so, see if that frame feeders, if they've done anything with it. Probably pull the frame feeder out, add another frame down below, add a fresh box on top, and then monitor. And then when they need a little extra feed, go on top with a bucket, fill them out, and then let them get to that story and a half, 2 maybe doubles for winter. And then all the resources that they came from will get split 2 or 3 ways into 5 to 7 frame splits. We'll add queen cells and then have those near the main mating areas. That way we can kind of freshen up a lot of the genetics all in one shot. Bruce, I'm with you on the trying to do 30 queens in a shot. If you think of, most average out yards are probably, 24 to 48 colonies, or, whatever interval of 4-way pallets are. You want to kind of do that in one shot, so you at least have a yard of bees that is from this year. And I think that's probably what your goal was, but doing it so late in the year, you end up losing your boutique queens, because of all the conditions are not just right. So maybe the move is to, do 4 to 10, get them to stick, and then make daughters off of those at the right time of year for you the following spring, and then lay out, 30 or 40 F1 potentials, or, at least queen cells to be the F1 of that new parental line that you've got going there. Otherwise, you'll just constantly keep chasing your tail, bringing in this and bringing in that. And it's hard to sort through.
Yeah.
So
I think, honestly, I think a lot of mine in the spring probably swarm. They just do. But, I really, what I wish is that I could get some of your queens and some of Michael Palmer's queens early in the spring. But you guys, I'm just, you guys are up north and I'm not. So it's tough. It's just tough. I mean, and I know I don't ever order yours early enough to get them the first batch that you have. And so I'm always playing behind the Michaels aren't available. I'm not even sure if I can get them again. I just happen to have it in. I don't know. I happen to have it in with Cayman, kind of helped me out with that last year. And he didn't have any available until like late July or August. And so in Vermont or wherever he's at, New Hampshire, I think he's in Vermont. I mean, that's like the perfect time for queens. But down here, we're just, miserable in July and August here. But
I just don't have the bandwidth right now, but I can definitely see the need for us in the future to talk about a southern yard, to have our genetics from here down south that we can jump early spring and make maybe 400 to 600 queens and be able to accommodate those early needs. But at the end of the day, we can only do so much, and we're able to service. Like today, what the cool thing is, like today's shipments went all over the country, but probably the furthest state was Texas. And so we're actually seeing a lot of traffic in Texas. I think a lot of folks are interested in getting this more docile, but still prolific genetic line out there into some of those circumstances. Some of the folks that we've talked to from Texas, when they make splits, they don't even fool around with queen cells. They are always importing those genetic lines in. And I hate that for folks. I hate that folks are in a position where the Africanized bee is so much of a threat or a potential threat that they've got to constantly import queens to make splits. I mean, that's almost heartbreaking. But on the flip side, in some of the challenges that we had with this line of hygienic bees, is that if the aggression follows the hygienic behavior, and if the aggressive tendency is a fraternal, if it's passed down through the fraternal side, I mean, can you imagine being in Texas and you've got you've got a beautiful queen mother that you've got from name the boutique queen producer. Let's just say she had a Pepto Pink, right? And she's got this queen in Texas and she wants to make daughters off of, and she could make as many as she want, but to not know which drones are in a DCA within the queen's mating flight radius, you can't control that. That's a pretty heartbreaking thing to know, that what you're going to get from that is probably not going to be what you're looking for. That's kind of a challenging thing, but we'll talk more about queens and genetics, and I think management for all those things here. We've got Bohemia Bees, our buddy Jason Crook, co-founder of the Queen Right Dial. might I add, including the queen mating dial, pretty cool, asks, have you also noticed less laying worker situations this year, or they are way easier to fix this year? Bruce, have you seen less laying workers? And if you've seen laying workers, were they easier to fix this year?
I have not seen many at all this year. Last year, they were everywhere. I had a horrible time last year. I've had a few this year, but I don't know. I don't know if I've had any laying workers now. Drone layers, I've had a few, but I don't know if I've seen any laying workers this year, actually. But I just do the old dump on the ground technique. I don't mess around with it. I don't even try. I take them off a little ways, shake them out, and then they just work it out. And I throw the comb on other hives, and they figure it out, and I just roll with it. I don't have time to try to fix them. But I didn't have any. I don't know if I had any laying workers, but the drone layers, I did have a few, yes, cells that didn't take.
Yeah. Well, I this year, I think we've maybe seen, it's kind of early. Right now, how we would see laying workers would really be if we put a poor quality queen cell in that was never going to hatch, then you're doomed for laying workers. But we totally prevent that by candling our cells before they even go out. The other thing that you can't control is queen returns, and whether it's a barn swallow or a dragonfly or a train. I mean, I don't know, all the things that can smash a queen as they're flying. That tends to have problems, but we're on a rotation where every 21 days we're in the boxes checking on the queen cells that we dropped. And if we've got a beautiful looking queen, then she's getting caged that day and she goes down the road and a queen cell goes in same time. So in 21 days, I don't know that I've seen a laying worker at 21 days. Usually when we have seen laying workers in the mating yards, it was the in-between time frames where when we try to go through a queen yard, we do everything all at the same time into that yard, so it's all the same motion. Sometimes you'll have these little jokers in between there that you got in there and something happened and now they made their own queen, or it's what you're waiting on to that, or there's all these in-between things that although you might drop a queen cell, you might try to do that, they're on their own little time frame. Sometimes you'll see that, but I don't even play around anymore. Like I just, the success rates at the very best for laying workers over all these years has probably conservatively been maybe 40 to 50%. And that's with some intense management. I don't even fool around. At that point, when you've got worker bees that are 4 weeks old, they are not an asset any longer. They're not moving the needle forward at all. If anything, they're ruining comb with Apache drone brood. So for me, I just shake the bees out, move the asset, which is the actual comb at that point, and the honey, anything left, moving on to a colony who can actually do something with it and grow the asset. Just shake them out and move on. So, but this year, I haven't tried to fix them, because if I see that, we fix it by permanently fixing that scenario. Bruce, it's an hour and a half. I've had a lot of fun tonight. We could talk all night about queens. Do you have any thoughts or any address, Bruce?
Just one question that Michael Buck at 9:04 your time said. I think I did talk about bee escapes earlier, and he asked, I think, twice. He says, what type bee escape did you use, Bruce? And does anyone use the old style that fits in the inner cover hole with results? I didn't use the old style that fits in the inner cover. The one I used two different types. I have the old style triangle type, which is the most common one I think you'll see out there. But my favorites, which is the one I used on, I think, all line except for one that I wanted to just show for the video. But the black, I use the black Saracel ones. They've got little cones in them, and they work really extremely well. And they're pricey. And I bought a bunch of bee escapes, I think 3 or 4 years ago, and then I haven't used them but once. And so I felt like if I was going to use them, I might as well use the expensive ones first. And but I use mostly the black Saracel ones. You can get them, I think, at Pureco. They're really good quality. They're plastic. They've got the cones that almost like a fish trap with the cone. The bees can get through, but they can't figure out how to get back. And the triangle style, the wooden ones that you can get almost anywhere. I think, Greg, you have those too. Those work extremely well as too. They kind of all work a similar theory, but those are the two types I use. I'm trying to scroll down a little bit. I think we've just kind of run out of time, folks.
It's an hour and a half, and we're talking in circles, Bruce.
Yeah, we probably need to. But as far as like here at Bruce's Bees, oh man, still got a little work to do. But one thing that I did do, and I mentioned this earlier, I wanted to briefly, for those who might be on here, kind of that weren't on here early, I did try the simple comb. There'll be a video coming out on this, and if you watch the video, I really went from the first step all the way through the whole process, checked on the hive several times, and I got some cartridge, some really nice packages out of it. It looked just like this. It really turned out beautiful. It didn't fill out the whole box. I think it'd be tough to get 80, but I did get quite a few. And if you watch the video, you'll see how many. That's going to be coming out fairly soon. I'm trying to get my honey harvest video done first, and then those will come out. And so this past weekend, we harvested honey. I've got all the stuff is away from the honey house now, but I have 2 trailers full of honey supers that are getting robbed out right now. You know, the comb is getting cleaned up by the bees up at the farm, and so I've got to get those stacked. And that's probably one of the 2 or 3 things I dislike the most about beekeeping is stacking old honey supers for storage. I hate it, but you got to do it. So I'm going to probably try to do that Friday. Saturday, I'm helping Rusty harvest his honey or extract his honey. And then we do still have 1 bee yard to pull. I'm not sure how I'm going to get that harvested, and Rusty may do that as well. We may have another smaller extraction the following weekend. So we've been busy. And once I get all the supers off, and we're dropping apivar in the hives as we pull the honey off, they'll all be treated. Most of them have a fair amount of honey in there. So maybe we can actually catch our breath for at least a couple of weeks, a little while, and just kind of during this hottest part of the season, just not have to be in the bees as much and doing as much with the bees. We'll focus a little more on trying to we've been bottling up and selling honey like crazy, but we'll continue to do that probably. But as far as videos go, next video, hopefully in dropping the next couple of days, is the pulling honey video where we've had an awesome crew pulling honey. The following video will be the extraction extraction honey video, the extracting honey video. And then I might do a third video. I actually have filmed a little bit of this of what I do with the buckets and the supers after we're done with that. Because most people just end it, when I've done this in the past, just end it with the extraction. But then what do you do with all the stuff? What do you do with the honey that you've harvested? Where do you store it? How do you store it? How do you store the boxes? So I've actually shot a little footage of kind of what I do there. And my process is a little more complicated than some because I don't have a home extraction facility. I extracted at my buddy's at Rusty's place. A lot of the equipment's mine, but we combined our equipment. And so, but I have to haul it other places, and I actually store it up at the farm, and I bottle up the honey here at my house. And so I'm all over the place. And so I'm going to kind of talk a little bit more about what we do with the buckets of honey and with the honey supers once I move him away from his place there. So that's kind of what's coming up. And then I'm going to do an interview with Rogan about the study that Auburn did with my bees. If you saw the video, it's a really nice video that they came out and they took some samples, and you can see what that's about. And I'm going to do a follow-up video with him to see the results. I'm going to do that interview with him on Friday, and I'll get that just uploaded when I can get it edited and put out. The last thing, one of these in here somewhere will be the video on the simple comb. So I've got about 3 to 4 videos kind of that I'm working on that'll be lined up over the next couple of weeks, hopefully. And I think it'll be some pretty good content that'll be, number one, hopefully entertaining, but also you may be able to catch some ideas of maybe how to, just maybe some ideas that'll help you in your operation. And that's what my hope is with this channel anyway, all the time. So that's what's going on at Bruce's Bees, Greg. I don't have much going on. It's kind of just not much going on around here. We're kind of lazy around here.
Yeah, well, you can finally get caught up on watching Lost or something, I guess, all these years later.
Well, that's how I feel.
Yeah, that's. I've been in there's. I'm in a very, I guess, good place. I'm mentally. I'm finding a lot of joy.
Me too.
Working bees this year, and I know that sounds silly folks are thinking, how can you not find joy working? I mean, what do you mean? It's not always roses and hunky dory. I mean, the fact of the matter is, when bees is your business, it's business, and that's stressful. And there's a lot of things that are going on, and we were extremely grateful and humbled by the patience of a lot of our customers, especially when it comes to queens. This coming, there is such a demand for the queens that we're producing to scale up further. We got to really take a hard look at that. This coming year, we may do things completely different, where it may be closed list only, and we reach out when we've got queens available, and we just start work through the list. It's a lot of stress on producing scheduled queens, because you are literally at the mercy of everything going right all the time, and then you build in redundancies and backup plans and buffers, and things happen. So we are continuing to push forward and do fun, great things with our queen lines and such. But I find myself in a season of joy, even through all the challenges. And in years past, Bruce, I don't know that I could say that. I don't know if it's a maturity thing. I mean, I've just about lost all my hair, so I don't know how much more mature I can get there. The beard's, just about after this year, it's probably going to be fully gray. I think with experience comes wisdom, and I think God grants us that as we have spent time in that fiery inferno, is what it seems like. But to just simply say we're in a season of joy, I think a lot of folks could appreciate that if you've spent time through fear and anxiety and stress and all those things. So we'll just kind of see. That's where we're at right now, and I'll leave it at that for now. I don't know if Mike and Lori from Hamburg Honey, if they're still on tonight. I don't know if it's time yet for any announcements about that thing. If so, then just comment yes on announcement, and then don't say yes on announcement if it's a no. But there's a lot of fun. Man, there's so many fun things on the horizons here. We're excited to share with you. What's coming up here, Nature's Image, the next learning yard is coming up on, let's see, pull up a calendar. The next learning yard will be July the 6th. And it's going to be a honey extraction with a focus on the backyard beginning beekeeper. It's not about the honey sumps and all of the mechanical equipment, as it is some of the simple ways and simple things that you can do as you get started to process your honey and do a good job at it. We're going to be tackling that on July, whatever I just said. I'm brain dead. July 1st for the first weekend in July there. That'll be a lot of fun. That's going to be cool. Videos, I've got about 3 of them in the queue, and like when you finally get everything like revved up and ready to rock and roll, Bruce, and you get that message that your hard drive is full, and you think, that's fine.
Oh gosh,
I'll go to the big hard drive. Well, when you realize that your 10 terabyte is now full and there's no room, and then all of your other 2 and 4 and 6 are all full too, you're thinking,
that's what happens when you video in 10K, Greg. That's what happens.
I don't even know what's going on, but I have got mountains. I could stop. I could take no more new footage for probably the next 3 years easily, and put out 1 to 2 videos a week just on interviews and just what's going on right now type stuff. It's just, yeah. So,
Greg, before we close it out, could I just hit on something I think that I've noticed this year too, and maybe it's just because it's been such a good year, but man, you mentioned the word joy, and I'm just going to tell you, it's just, and I've been thinking about how to put this in words, but we know about Tim, who's on here, Tennessee Tim, and then my buddy Bracken, who came down, similar but different stories. Bracken will tell you that the bees saved his life.
Yep.
And I just joy and peace are 2 words. Those are 2 things that I've really felt a lot of this year. Physically, I've done a little better this year, maybe because I've paced myself a little bit better. I don't know. I've just been feeling a little better physically overall. But man, just joy and peace when I'm driving between these bee yards and just thinking about things and just man, it's just been I think you're just touching a little bit of God when you're driving around out there. That's just how I feel about it. I just feel like it's just something that is in my heart. And I just can't emphasize enough how cool it is to have made such great friends through this beekeeping thing, and not just YouTube friends, but even customers and people that I meet. You talk about bees out in the public, just friends, new people that I meet like seemingly every day. It's just such an awesome opportunity to be able to be a part of this community. But joy and peace are two words. When you mentioned joy, but peace is another piece of that puzzle for me. It's been really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're looking for an audio version of the thing that at least I think Bruce and I are both talking about, but for me specifically, when you hear the word joy, a lot of me, the way that my mind is wired, if I hear a phrase or a word or a sentence or even an experience, to me, everything goes back to us. There's a song I know for me. So when we get done tonight, when I'm that unspeakable joy, Google it or get on YouTube. There's an old version of a song called Unspeakable Joy by the Happy Goodmans. And I believe the one that I'm thinking of is a live version with one of the Gaither homecomings. If you like Southern gospel, then give that a play. But Unspeakable Joy, when you hear old Vestal Goodman just belt out that song, that's where my heart's at when I'm out there in the bee yard, and things are just like, they don't have to be like, it doesn't have to always be going right. Matter of fact, when you can find joy when things seemingly are going wrong, it goes back to the God on the mountain is the God in the valley. And when you accept that and you can appreciate that, and when you can find joy and peace even in those tough times, it just makes it all the better when you're in the good times there too. So check that out, Unspeakable Joy, Happy Goodmans, one of the Gaither lives. I love that song. Before we close here, I want to shout out. I got to talk. I talked with Tom at Mac Apiary Bees today. I was calling him about a queen order, just double checking with that. So it was good talking with Tom. And I didn't know this, and if I didn't know it, I could just be the only ignorant one here. But our pal Ricky Rourke, Horizontal Bees, also has a live chat. I'm trying to think which night it is, but I saw Tom and Melissa Sosman, and I think that they are. Let's see. Where was the comment? Let's see. VIA Honeybees. Yeah, that's Tom and Melissa. It says we are still going to host on Ricky's channel to keep his watch hours up. So Tom and Melissa, let me make a comment here and see. Let us know what day of the week, what time, and what channel you guys do that on.
They're saying Thursday tomorrow night, 7 Central, 8 o'clock Eastern tomorrow night. Okay,
so Thursdays, 8 p.m. Check out the Horizontal Bees, I think. Is that where it's going to be at? But anyways, great folks. Tom, Melissa, Ricky, Ruth, all of them. Spanky, awesome folks. I'm oblivious to a lot of things, and I didn't know they had a live chat. So I guess I got a lot of catching up to do on those things. So anyways, check that out. Next week we'll have Brian back. Brian's wife's birthday is today. Luke and Lily's birthday is today. If you've had a recent birthday, happy birthday to you too. Next Wednesday, 8 p.m. will be on the Castle Hives YouTube channel. Or is that right? Or yours?
Yeah, I think let's do Castle. Let's go back.
I can't remember.
We're going Castle. We're going Brian's channel next week.
Yeah, is that what we're doing? Okay, all right.
That's the plan as of now. If it changes, just stay tuned. Check out Stream Team on Facebook group. We'll be announcing as it comes along. But I think the plan for now is to go onto his channel and just get back in our regular rhythm, and that'll be cool. And hey, if anyone has any pictures of monster hives that you might have in your own operation, you can post them to the Stream Team Beekeeping Chat Facebook group page, and we will, get those on there and show folks, show your hives off a little bit on there. I think that'd be kind of fun, don't you, Greg?
Absolutely. And if you are currently or have managed a monster hive in the past, drop us some comments here once this video publishes, so we can all kind of check in and learn a little bit more about that. So a lot of fun things going on here. We've got some new products here at the shop. The Swarm Commander and Honeybee Gone and all kinds of really cool stuff that you're going to see that are popping up there. But including, you're going to be seeing a lot more about these. So check out nature'simagefarm.com. Looking for wax dipped equipment or anything, just a really good quality products that make a difference in the bee yard. Check us out. Other than that, until next time, we just want to remind you to be the lighthouse and be the change you want to see in this world. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.